Hello students, welcome to this ethics class. Today we will discuss 2018 5b. Again, before watching this video, you should have attempted this question at least once on your own. Explain the process of resolving ethical dilemmas in public administration. Again, it is a very subjective answer. So you can write your answer in a number of ways. You can write the process through which you will solve ethical dilemmas. I have listed some of the ways to solve ethical dilemmas, to provide guidance, and to make you understand what the question is trying to ask. So let us see. Process. Understanding that personal interest is not materialism, but mental happiness once basic needs are satisfied. So for mental happiness, values, duty, public interest, etc. are most important. This resolves almost all dilemmas. Thus money, career, etc. would not be motivating factors. So generally when we understand this itself resolves lot of ethical dilemmas. Because majorly ethical dilemmas arise because of materialism itself, many ethical dilemmas arise. So that is why once we understand that, once we remove materialism, once we understand that materialism has no role in happiness, especially mental happiness once basic needs are satisfied, then majority of ethical dilemmas would be resolved. Next, we can also remove conflicts of interest, if any. That also removes dilemmas. For example, moving away from tender where one of the companies belongs to close relatives. So if we remove conflict of interest, we would also remove ethical dilemma. So only when there is conflict of interest, for example, when I am overlooking a tender process and one of the companies belong to my close relatives, then because of conflict of interest, ethical dilemma might arise. So however, if I go away from that process, then there is no conflict of interest, then there is no ethical dilemma. At the same time, introducing objectivity and transparency is also important. That also solves many ethical dilemmas. Example, developing criteria for funding. For example, if we see vertical devolution of funds from center to state, there is a definite criteria based on which states have their own share. Because there is definite criteria, there is no chance for arbitrary or opportunistic actions. So that also resolves many ethical dilemmas. There is no place for arbitrary actions or discretionary actions or unethical actions. Similarly, if we publish all the information online in easy search formats, then there will be complete transparency. So when there is transparency, then people will have the information to hold public servants accountable. Then public servants would also not behave unethically because it is a transparent process. So even these will remove many ethical dilemmas. And understanding that any threats against ethical actions would be weak. This understanding also very important. In modern civilized society, this is very true. We have to understand that in our modern civilized society, civilized forces are very strong. As such, any threats against ethical actions would be very weak. So you do not need to take any threats to ethical actions seriously. They exist everywhere, and they are bogus threats. They do not have any value in them. In modern society, civilized forces are more stronger. And we also need to understand that based on all these things, we understand that ethics is most pragmatic. So once we understand that ethics is the most pragmatic option, we always tend to take ethical routes or ethical options. So that also resolves ethical dilemmas. And also involvement of public. So involvement of stakeholders. So when we involve them in decision making, it would also remove ethical dilemma for us because they themselves would decide what kind of development they want. They themselves would decide kind of development they want, kind of decisions they want. So there wouldn't be any ethical dilemma for us. So involvement of stakeholders is very important because they are the major beneficiaries of any decision. So this process would solve ethical dilemmas in public administration. So when we apply all these principles and processes, almost all the ethical dilemmas in public administration would vanish. So it comes to around 131 words. So that is why we have ethics paper. Because once we understand the importance of these principles and values, we understand that when these principles, values and processes are applied, many ethical dilemmas are resolved, and governance leads to good governance, ethical governance, etc. So all the problems of public administration would be resolved by understanding these principles, values and processes. And that is why we have ethics paper, because of lack of these values, because of lack of these processes, we are facing many problems in public administration. Only by fixing these values, we can solve all the problems. This would be the easiest way to solve all the problems in the public administration. So ethics is the easiest way, most effective way, and is the only way to solve many ethical dilemmas in public administration. So that is why we have ethics paper. So that is all. Thank you.